Hey, it's Evan. Welcome back to another episode of the Mindful 8 podcast. And in today's episode, we're talking about humanitarian efforts. These are actions taken to improve the well being of people and communities, often focusing on alleviating suffering, promoting human rights, and addressing social, economic, and environmental issues. These efforts can include providing aid during crises, supporting vulnerable populations, improving education, advancing healthcare, protecting animals, and advocating for sustainable change. Just recently, I did a numerology reading, if you will, and I've realized that my life purpose is to be a humanitarian and a spiritual architect, which is quite obvious. But the humanitarian really stuck with me. My entire life, I've always been drawn towards healing humanity, being of service to humanitarian efforts. Marine life has always captivated me. I've always been drawn to the ocean, drawn to bodies of water. And so, in today's episode, we're going to talk about humanitarian efforts and the whole goal for you listening, my dear friend on the other side of this black mirror, is to get inspired about saving the planet. Look, for quite some time, I've been under the preface that this whole climate change and global warming initiative is not real. And, there's so much ignorance in me saying that because that's just what I've been told for the longest time. Climate change is fake. Global warming isn't real. And I realized that this is the part where you either continue listening or you click off. It's very real. It's very real. You know, I've been really secluded to one location of this vast physical realm that we call Mother Earth, Gaia, for quite some time. But I've been able to travel a bit, which I've been very fortunate and grateful to be able to travel. And after experiencing different cultures, religions, traditions, climate, and listening into many documentaries and just understanding my life purpose, life path 9, I'm realizing that I really am a humanitarian. My efforts in this lifetime will be in support of not only evolving humanity, but healing humanity. The way climate is evolving is definitely something I can't ignore personally anymore. There's this prophecy called the Hopi prophecy, which I'm going to do a deep dive into to speak about a little bit more. But to sum it up a little bit, it's the Hopi prophecy talks about two timelines that we're on, where the timeline we're on can either lead to extinction because of our own doing, or it leads to an infinite timeline where we essentially transcend our own wrongdoings and we build a better tomorrow in the now, in the eternal, ever present now. So when I came to this awareness, it really made me think, what are you actually doing with your time? Time and energy and your attention is so important. And I realized if every single second of your day is in support of leading to an infinite timeline, you're following your highest calling. You know this to be true. If you are watching the right documentaries in your own time when you're resting and reflecting about relevant stuff like our ever changing climate, that's good. That's leading to your highest calling. You're being inspired by the right things. If you're wasting your time not focusing on things that actually aid humanity and animals and advocate for world peace, then you aren't necessarily serving your highest calling. And I'm realizing this at the young age of 22. With everything that we're doing, if it's not in support of healing the world, if it's not in support of healing ourselves and healing the world and everyone and every living thing that is here, then what are we doing? And that's really what this episode is going to be about. It's a stream of consciousness. When I asked myself, what I want to talk about today, a few things popped up, but humanitarian efforts really came to my mind, which is why 0 point energy and technology is so interesting to me. And it's such a complex but simple equation. If the entire world, and hear me out because this is really important, if the entire world had free energy, which exists, we're going to do a lot of deep dives on this channel, we wouldn't be drilling for coal, for oil, and taking all these precious materials from the earth to use for energy and output, because we can harness energy from the quantum vacuum. So that's why that is so interesting to me and why I want to build a business model off of that. In the background, this YouTube channel is always just a platform to bring other people together, which is what we're really focusing on this year. But realizing that humanitarian efforts ties into 0 point technology, I know that I'm on the right track in that regard. Now, spirituality, esoteric living, holistic healing, understanding energy, frequency, and vibration. Okay, how are we fueling our bodies? What are we listening to? What are we watching? What are we smelling? Understanding that there's environmental toxins that exist from a sinister force right now. Why are we just sitting back and watching the RFK Juniors of the world speak out on these things? They're playing their part to one degree or another. Why aren't we? Like, there comes a point where you realize that government is just not necessary, as controversial as that sounds. If it's not in support of free energy, sustainable living, living in nature, having our homes be powered by free energy, if we're not spending our time and focusing all our attention on that, what are we doing? What are we doing? So it makes so much sense that this is what I'm really called to, because, listen, this Hopi prophecy of, okay, we're transcendence or transhumanism, extinction level event, or we survive forever into a beautiful new age. Look, that's real, right? It doesn't just exist for no reason. Like, that is so real. Which makes me wonder, it's like, what am I doing with my time? Like, I really got to be putting all my attention on this highest calling, because, listen, this video is also, me talking about humanitarian efforts and how that's my true calling, but it's also to inspire you to pursue humanitarian efforts in one way or another. But most importantly, it's to essentially wake you up, Like, there's this new normal that people find their individual perception within, in their own little world. And for the longest time, I've really contemplated, okay, why is that normal for other people? Always getting caught up in other people's perspectives. But from my perspective, some of these things aren't really normal, right? Yesterday or the day before, going out to go to a cafe to get some work done, and 20, 25 chemtrails in the sky, geoengineering chemtrails in the sky. That's not only harming ourselves, but harming the environment. What are we doing? Like, you can laugh. No, you can laugh. You can genuinely laugh, because this is the thing. We're at the awareness where there's two earths emerging and diverging, where one people acknowledge that that exists and they continue on with their lives as if it's, oh, whatever. Or another timeline of a new earth where you can go on that path and gravitate towards humanitarian efforts, realizing that, okay, this isn't a problem, because all problems exist in the mind, but this is something that we have to pay attention to, and we have to speak out on, if you will. Look, none of this is normal. And that's why I felt this bit of restlessness as of late. None of this is normal, right? If government isn't serving the people in regards to free energy, sustainable living, then we don't necessarily need government. What we need is to live in abundance. And if we're trying our best to live in abundance with a scarce resource, aka a debt-infused dollar, and scarce resources like the ones that we leverage, like oil and gas, which may be abundant, but also in drilling, harming the planet, and thus harming us, you come to that awareness and you kind of sit back and say, huh, whatever, or okay, I'm gonna drop everything and go pursue this synchronistically. And that's how I got to where I am today, realizing, what are we doing? But it's not what are we doing, it's what are you doing? Because each individual perception of reality is how all of this manifests. That's like the number one truth that I've realized. As above, so below. As within, so without. If your perception of reality is in support of healing the earth, if we get 51% of the population to get inspired to do just that, we have changed the timeline. We can do it. And this is the part of the video where I want to inspire. We can do it. We're not apocalyptics, right? We're not in the boat of, okay, the earth is going sideways, downwards, so we're just going to let it happen. No. If you are an aspiring young adult and you want to have a family, and this is where my 7 layers of why comes in. If you want to have a family, understand that if you do nothing, your generation and the one that comes after that and the one that comes after that will be living in a world that is so complex and dynamic. And it will be because of your efforts that you do and put in here and now. I'm under the impression and belief and knowing that climate change is real. And the tipping point, we may have passed it. But there's always things that we can do in the eternal now, because the eternal now is all that exists. Ladies and gentlemen, realize that we are heading towards an extinction level event because we're warming the planet naturally, but also unnaturally, because we're harming ourselves, harming the planet, harming ourselves. Realize there is no humanity. It's just one, divine oneness, Earth. We're heading towards that right now. That is literally where we're heading. With the resources that we are taking from Mother Earth, that is where we're heading. And this is the complex thing. The debt-infused dollar will go away. We will be transitioning to blockchain, decentralized ledger blockchain technology, which is in support of free energy and 0-point technologies. That is what we have to be focusing on. Healing the planet, healing ourselves, and in doing so, healing the planet. Humanitarian efforts. Life Purpose 9. Let this video be an inspiration of what I'm actually doing behind the scenes, behind the black mirror. I found something I'm willing to die for, which brings me emotion, because everybody is so fearful of death. But we don't have to be. Because if we have faith in a better tomorrow for our generations, the generations that follow, we're doing it out of love, pure unconditional love, the golden thread of healing generational trauma and ascending into the highest earth. That's the timeline to focus on. I'm doing my part to the best of my ability, but I'm taking it up a notch because it's not about me. It's about the generations that follow. This was an episode on humanitarian efforts. Allow it to inspire you. I love you dearly. Thank you for following me on the journey. I love you. I love you. I love you. Be great. Do incredible things with this life. And do it out of the unwavering, unconditional love that comes from within. I love you. Have a great day.